way. So, you know, we really want non-resident guests of the member as far as the sale, not just open to the public. And you got to be careful with your bingo games, your steak dinners, all those things where you open the floodgates and bring the public in. That's where your liability is.
So how do chips and gift cards work with non-resident guests? Can they use that at the bar if a member has paid for it?
I'd have to get an answer for you. That's a legal opinion. I mean, my personal opinion, I'm gonna say no, but I would have to get an opinion for you. Yeah, if you, I'll give you my information at the end. If you want to send me an email, we can get you an answer.
Thank you.
What do you mean by non-resident guest? What is
They're
a
not
non?
members.
So
Just means
they're
they're
from the
not a
state
member.
of Ohio. They're visiting. It's your brother from Ohio.
But what if
They-
they're from town but they're not a member? That's
Well, that's the point. Like, they're in town and they come to the post 10 times, 15 times. They need to be a member or quit coming.
okay.
Yeah, I think the intent is they're not a resident of the area.
If they're not eligible to be a member, then they can continue coming to the post as long as they're signed in. Where do they fall?
They don't. They have to be a member or,
They can't drink.
well, that's true, right? Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing that, and as far as we're concerned, to preclude them from coming to the post, but they can't drink, correct?
So, clarification, so if we have a member of the post that a neighbor, that regularly brings his neighbor in with them just because the neighbor can't join, is he limited to how many times we can?
So that's a good question. We worked a lot of these cases when I first started, 27 years ago, and a lot of those have tapered off. For some reason in the back of my mind, but I think it was written in the bylaws, the post bylaws, but I remember like 3 or something, but I went through everything. I can't find anything. I don't know if there's case law. I'm not sure. I don't have an answer for you. But essentially, from the information you're telling me, he lives here, so he's a resident. So he's not a non-resident. So the answer is no, he can't.
So where the law is getting us on this is the non-resident terminology that is
Yes.
being thrown throughout code all over the place when we're
Yes.
talking about our.
Statute and rule. Yes.
Is that resident of Florida or resident of your post?
Of Florida. He's saying resident of Florida. So non-residents of Florida, we can have in and sign in as guests, looking black and white against code/rules, whatever we're talking about. But if they're a resident of Florida, now we're starting to get into the, can we serve them alcohol, sign them in and serve them alcohol? By statute, no. Post bylaws, we'd be dumb to say no, but we're conflicting with Florida statute, so.
You're rolling the dice. You're rolling the
Yeah.
You're saying like bingo players and stuff like that that are there every week, they're residents of the town, but they're not members, they shouldn't be, even someone else should not be buying their alcohol for them?
Not only no, but no.
Okay.
Well-
Is there any different kind of license where you can do that?
That's a great question. I forgot that. I'm sorry?
Repeat the question.
The question is, you have a reoccurring non-member that comes every week for bingo and they're served drinks. Is that okay? The answer is no. Then the follow-up question was, is there another type of license for this? And that's a really good question because I forgot to put it in the presentation. We're starting to see this shift from the post, and it's in the statutes and identifies it. You can get that special food service license, which permits beer, wine, and liquor. Now, it does have a 51% food sales requirement, but a lot of these, I'm not sure with the American Legion, a lot of these other national fraternal organizations have steak night and all these meals, and then they sell more food. So they're switching to this type of license, and then you can invite everybody you want. Go ahead.
Sir, the IRS states that we can have bona fide signed-in guests as long as it is paid for by the member. So does that, if they are residents, but they are bona fide signed-in guests,
So
they can-
state law is allowed to constrict federal law even
Right.
more. So our laws would supersede the IRS in this situation.
So that.
Let's do this. We're halfway through our hour. Let's push through. I do have questions at the end. We can.
A permit or whatever, like so many times a year. open to the
Yes. Yes. So.
public. 12 times a year?
It's for, I believe it is, that's more of a licensing question, but it's called a nonprofit permit for like a 401c. And,
501c.
excuse me, yes. And you would have to put your license in escrow, which would be on the honor system. And then you would have to go purchase separate alcohol from a vendor for that event. And then you could invite the public and have your event for that.
So it has to be separate alcohol.
Yes.
And then at the end of that, can the host buy that alcohol back for their own
No.
use? It has to be
Yes.
just given away or whatever.
And the proceeds are supposed to go, some good charity or cause.
Okay.
What's good to get most of. Yes, sir.
Yeah, back to the resident, non-resident issue. I can see this happening in every single post in Florida. I've been married for 50 years. We've lived in Florida, my wife and I have lived in Florida for 11. Say I'm a member of the American Legion and she is not, I can't buy her a drink.
You can't make her a member as a family?
Well, I know, but I'm saying, I can't buy her a drink.
No. Let's rephrase that. If it's a son, we have like 3 different parts of the family, and sometimes we have men that are members of the son, but their wife does not come from a military family or have the ability to join the auxiliaries.
She has no path.
No past thing.
Yeah, it's like me and the insurance company, USA.
Yeah.
Yeah, like my grandpa served,
So-
my dad didn't.
So that would mean that the wife would not be eligible to participate at the post because she's a resident of Florida and cannot be a bona fide member.
You guys are digging really deep.
Every post
No.
has that issue.
I don't
It's
think.
very common, very common.
Very common.
But look, right now I have 2 agents on a 4-agent squad for 3 counties, so just kind of
I've made a
with me.
tape where you tapping your foot.
I'm just asking from a legal standpoint,
Yeah.
not-
The answer is no.
but
Yeah.
use discretion.
Our post, we have a restaurant and it's open to the public. So we have a hard time when we have the people over there for a drink, besides getting an alcohol drink. So soda and everything, they can purchase that. So that means they have to have a member buy them.
Can't do it.
Yeah, you can't do it. My suggestion would be apply for the special food service license. And then invite the whole block.
We might have to have a special license.
So you can sell enough food.
It's
It's 51%.
That special food service, is that like the total of your alcohol and food sales,
So
51% has to be
51% of food and non-alcoholic beverages.
food and non-alcoholic beverages? Has to be more than your alcohol sales?
49% alcohol sales.
Okay.
And then it depends, there's special acts, but it's generally 4,000 square feet, 250 seats. That's the other requirement. You have to sell food at all times, alcohol is available. They've watered this down. When I started, it was a different name for the license, and the rule established that a hamburger was a full course meal because it was bread service, meat, and a salad. And now, with this new SFS license, if you have popcorn available while you're selling alcohol, you're good.
So
You still have to make the percentages, but
but food has to be, some kind of food
it has to be available at all
available.
times when alcohol.
Would potato chips count? Okay.
Fork salad.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, the free ones at the bar don't count.
You
Okay.
mentioned the concept of the real world here a couple of times, and I wondered, does the department realize that if the American Legion in general were to comply with all the regulations set forth about the guests and the residency requirement, you close half the American Legions down in the state.
Let me ask you this, how long have you been a member
Of what?
of the American Legion?
Over 10 years.
Okay, have you seen our agency at your post?
Well, they're coming tomorrow.
You guys are invited.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear
Quiet.
you. I'm sorry, can you repeat that, please? Okay. Next.
Can you talk about concealed carry in the bar area versus like the rest of the post?
Absolutely. You need to check with the Department of the State. We don't regulate that. Yes, sir.
What is your parameters as far as enforcing the membership of the members of the American Legion? When you come into a post, and you check our IDs to make sure we're members.
Can we? Is that what you're asking?
Do you? Is what I'm asking.
First we gotta show.
Is that part of your enforcement?
It's not on the inspection list. However, if we received a complaint, sure, we could walk in, like to see your, if you have a sign-in book, like to see it, like to read your bylaws. Bylaws require a sign-in book, look at the sign-in book, ask for a membership ID, yeah, absolutely. There's statutes that require, or that provide us access to all the records of your business when you're issued an alcoholic beverage license.
So what I'm basically asking is that members do not have to have their membership card on at all times.
Yeah, you might not have it. So you'll have to email me a copy.
That is kind of a rumor that's going around through most of the posters in Florida, state of Florida, that members have to have their ID cards on every
That's on
service.
you guys, we gotta use some common sense here. I mean,
Our CBL says you're not getting access to the post if you don't have your card on.
Supposed to have your license,
Right.
that ID
But
anyway.
this is something that was put out there by folks, that it was an ABT rule, is what I'm asking.
yeah, so the answer is no.
No, okay, that's what I'm asking, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
At the beginning of the video, it said the American Legion has to have a 501c11, 11C. I saw 11.
Yeah, she's right. That's
No,
one of the
the
alcohol.
type of license that you
Okay.
have is called an 11C. It's a club license.
Okay.
Every license has a designation of what it's called.
Okay, well,
Yours is called an 11C.
what's a 501c19?
That's a
Is that
designation
different?
for
That's
tax.
the tax exempt
Oh, okay,
that we're
all right.
under, as a veterans organization.
Okay, that's where I'm
What's
confused.
the other one, where everybody?
This is my contact information. Feel free to take a
Wait a minute.
picture or.
I gotta take a picture.
Any other?
Pardon me?
Who are the guests?
Just my neighbor,
No. They're residents.
right?
Right.
So he can't come there and I can sign him in and dance night and dance and
He
with
can
his wife.
dance, but he can't drink.
Unless you buy it.
Section C, when's the last time you saw an ABT officer at your post?
Well, I'm saying.
2 weeks ago, what's the point of the
I
regulation?
understand, so why do we have this regulation if we're all gonna be
Violated every day.
breaking the damn law? It's like, because you're gonna make somebody mad one day.
Jim,
Oh, I know I.
I'm gonna try and help you out.
All right.
Laughing at me crazy.
Can we put headphones in your head? Stand up.
On my head?
Stand up.
Alright, as American Legion, alright, we all know we're a nonpartisan political organization, right? It's easy. We've obviously got statutes that if we follow them to the letter of the law, we're hurting our posts, at least financially. Or we're putting our people at risk of misdemeanor charges, blah, blah, blah. All right, we can't do anything about the statute today. So go back to your post, go back up through your districts, back up through our legislative committee to take these complaints to our lobbyists, our senators, our representatives, and whatnot, to where we can simply maybe change non-resident to resident guests. And now, all of a sudden, we're covered. I don't think these guys will have an issue. It'll actually make their job a little easier.
Hamburger Popcorn.
Or hamburger and popcorn.
Or both.
Yes, sir.
Can you just briefly cover one more time, as the executive board turns over, what's required for that liquor license to be in compliance? Like you said something, bar manager? Because
Just the
typically-
bar manager. Initially, when you apply, you're gonna have probably 10, 12 officers, first vice, second vice, all the treasurer. That's all gonna be on file, but the only one that needs continuously change is your bar manager, club steward, whoever those people are.
Well, what about that executive board has changed over so many times and that's never been updated?
Yeah, no, there's an exemption for that.
Okay, so we just did, the bar manager needs to be fingerprinted and his name on file?
Yes, every time.
And what's the process for making that happen?
It's online.
Yeah.
No one's fingerprinting online, so that's why I asked.
They have
any of those.
they have, if you go online, if you go to the DVPR page, they have a list of where you can go, where they go get the fingerprints, the form, and who they turn it into.
Is their name on the license itself too, or not?
It'll be added as an interest, what we call, or whether, you could even put Kim Smith, bartender, interest 0%.
Y'all still issue pig cards?
I'm not familiar with what that is, sir.
Person in charge card?
No. Ma'am?
Sir, is there any truth to the fact, if I sign someone in legitimately and I'm purchasing their drinks, that they're not allowed to sit at the bar?
No, there's nothing to that.
Thank you.
Now, this has to be done every year, or just when you change bartenders?
Just when you change it, it's not bartender.
Oh, we change
Bar manager.
bar managers. Okay.
Because I'm going through this now.
Okay.
Listen up.
I'm going through this now. We start using the term bar manager. I mean, people say bar manager, people say lounge manager, some people have a facilities manager. That name that's on that liquor license must be an elected American Legion officer by law. Yes, it does. It's been confirmed. Your bar manager doesn't have to be that, but the name on the license does. The name on the license does. And that's why a lot of them, their bar manager may be a son. But there's a facilities manager, and that's who the bar manager answers to, and then, of course, the post commander. But that facilities manager will be an elected American Legion officer.
You went through this?
I'm going through it right now.
And so what process did you have to go through to change that name?
Just change the name on the liquor license.
And Sunbiz. So we talked about this at the legislative meeting last year. So on your Sunbiz report, it was suggested that you only have no more than 2 of your officers on there, typically it's the commander and whoever is considered the person that is facilitator, the facility person.
What if that guy's not a need more than that?
That's a function. Well, it's supposed to be-
That's an
That I can't tell you. I'm just saying what the legislative act told us.
The names that are on Sunbiz, those are articles of incorporation. And when you go on there once a year and you renew that, your corporate filing through Sunbiz, it automatically changes those names on your articles of incorporation. So there's nothing you really have to do other than renew your on Sunbiz every year.
So I pulled our license up online, it has our post name number, do business as, our post name and number. That's why I asked a specific question. There's no name in our liquor license right now.
No, the corporation or limited liability company, whatever you have, always stay the same.
Yes.
It's just a change of officers or change of bar
I have
manager.
a question for you.
Yeah.
Where was this requirement that it has to be an EC member?
It is, I can't remember the number, and I didn't bring my stuff with me, because we had to research it, because we recently had a turnover in our, what we call the lounge manager. Our lounge was going to be a turnover, because the lounge manager was a son. And when you look it up, and I can't remember where I saw it, but
And that's,
I want to say it was
DVPR
531 or something, somewhere in that area, it was a statute number.
That wouldn't be one of ours.
It was a Florida statute. It was a Florida
It's
statute.
531-20 is club license, but you're talking about the stuff we turn into DVPR?
Right,
the
it says in
fingerprinting?
there that the person on that liquor license has to be an American Legion officer. And I dug deep into it because I'm thinking, okay, the son's being a program with American Legion,
Now,
would
let me ask-
their commander be considered an American Legion
Yes,
officer? The answer
the
was no.
DVPR guy, is that a requirement?
is what a requirement?
That they have to be bona fide officer, elected officer, or can it be just lounge manager?
They have to be a member of the club.
Just a
The
member of the club?
bartender
The lounge manager?
has to be a member of the club.
That's not, that's what we're
Legion or-
confusing. The lounge manager
Yeah,
doesn't
that's
have to be the one on the license.
Commander or vice commander.
Normally, and a lot of CDLs, it lists basically a facilities manager, which typically falls under the realm of your second vice.
Gotcha.
So typically, your second vice is gonna be the one on the liquor license, but it's not necessarily in charge of the bar.
Right.
But the lounge, bar manager or lounge manager, is basically, they're gonna answer to him in some way, shape, and form, because, pardon my French, it's his ass on the line, because his name's on it.
Right,
So he's gonna be in that chain of command.
I get it.
Yeah, so don't confuse bar manager with the person who's on the license. The person who's on the license has to be at least an officer, the bar manager does not.
And also-
Bar manager can be a civilian.
No. See, I believe so, because it talks about here, the social motion on membership, so.
Okay, so if they're not.
Thank you guys, thank you for your service.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.